Hello! Welcome back to Overclock Showcase. I just realised I'm looking at the M1000, and I shouldn't be. I should be looking at something much cooler than the M1000, Ice Spear. So, of course, if you watched the end of last episode, you would know that this week it's Ice Spear. Ice Spear is a balanced overclock for the Cryo cannon. And it's a pretty simple one. Obviously, there are a couple examples of alternate firing modes in Deep Rock. It basically takes the form of... There's a lot of things where they take the form of just pressing reload, switches to something else, or does something else. In fact, I think the examples where pressing reload does something directly, I think that is entirely relegated to Driller. Yeah, I would say so. Because obviously, you could like this overdrive booster, but that is like that you change to overdrive booster mode by pressing reload after you start firing as well. That's a more complicated one. But obviously we have Ice Spear, we have Snowball, we have Scorching Tide. Those are kind of the big three, really. Suffice to say, the Sludge Pump doesn't have one, but the Sludge Pump is built in such a way that it doesn't need one, which I think is great. Either way, Ice Spear, it is genuinely, for real, what it says on the tin. You shoot an Ice Spear by pressing reload, which is to say, one of the things what I think is the best thing about Ice Spear, and consequently, actually the worst thing about Snowball, is that Ice Spear is still the Cryo cannon at base. It just lets you shoot Ice Spears. Now, why did I say what I said about Snowball? Is because I think Snowball would be far better if it was actually full conversion and just made the Cryo cannon shoot snowballs. But Ice Spear is entirely carried by the fact that it's still the normal Cryo cannon, but with the ability to shoot Ice Spears. They consume 50 ammo per shot. In fact, actually, I'm going to get the exact numbers up. All right. Yeah, they consume 50 ammo per shot. It does 350 direct damage and 150 area damage in a 1.4 meter radius. This thing can technically kill a good amount of grunts in a 2.8 diameter range. But that's not what you're using it for. You're using it for the direct damage. So that is 500 damage overall. That is not even close to enough to kill a Praetorian. But then you remember, you can freeze things. That is basically entirely what Ice Spear is predicated upon. So, how... I just paused the recording for no reason. How have I constructed two distinct builds around this? Well, we're going to be looking more at application here. The way... What we use the overclock for, rather than how we use it. It's going to be used in pretty much the same way, but in entirely different contexts. So the first build is... I should say, neither of these builds are too traditional in what I would normally use for Ice Spear. In fact, I think I want to, basically, normal Ice Spear, it's not a huge difference between this one and what I would normally do, but it'd be something like this. This would be my typical Ice Spear build. I'd be using a very standard wave cooker with boiler rate. I'm using Blistering Necrosis for reasons I'll talk about when I get to that. But, so neither of these are exactly what I would call the platonic ideal, but that's because the ideal is not as interesting as filtering what you can use Ice Spear for between these two builds. So this one is basically designed to be hyper aggressive. This plays into the idea of the Cryo cannon being a bit more of like an omni tool kind of thing. With a term that I've used a lot. I honestly would say that I kind of coined the word. Technically, BioWare did. An Omni tool is from Mass Effect, but an Omni tool in the sense of a Deep Rock weapon that can kind of do everything, but obviously there is an ammo consideration there. So this Cryo cannon is designed to shred weak hordes of enemies and one-shot really tanky enemies, while our secondary, our Plasma Caster, is designed to finish off frozen enemies that don't get killed by Fragile, and to very easily kill high-priority targets like Mac Terror. We're not going to be shooting Mac Terror with our Cryo cannon. We will be shooting Goo Bombers, because Goo Bombers are a perfect target for Ice Spear. But yeah, the Plasma Charger here, heavy hitter, fire, bit of ammo, bit of damage, velocity. It's just basically a heavy hitting revolver kind of thing that just puts down sort of those weaker, high priority targets that we don't necessarily want to use the cryo cannon for. We want to use this for swarms and then freezing and ice spearing really big enemies. Even then, this is aggressive because it's an ammo hungry build that doesn't have too much crowd control. Now, I could have alleviated that. I could have actually, the HE grenade would be much more crowd controlling. But I think I went for the Ripper because how often do you see people use the spring-loaded Ripper? This poor thing, it barely feels like it's part of the game, but there it is. You can use it. It's a saw blade that runs along the ground, Anyway, so Ice Spear here is built, like I said, to tear through weaker crowds of enemies. That is done through taking a lot of ammo, a bit of freezing power in tier 1, and Fragile. Fragile basically makes it so that you have a chance to shatter enemies whenever they sort of are taken below a certain health threshold by cryo cannon particles. It's more complicated than it needs to be, but the point is it tears through grunt hordes very well. Rate of fire. Rate of fire is not something that you would normally use on the cryo cannon because you are normally using cold radiance. A cold radiance is a fixed rate of application, meaning that you don't want to be shooting faster because it doesn't change how quickly cold radiance performs. The fact that we're not using cold radiance means we actually gain freezing speed by taking fire rate because it's per particle. So the more times we're ticking the cryo cannon's damage, the more times we're ticking the freezing. So rate of fire helps freeze things quicker here. Typically, you should use cold radiance for Ice Spear. I just wanted to create a quite distinct difference between the two builds, and this was one of the ways that I found to do it. So yeah, this build rewards like hyper aggressiveness and using what Ice Spear is for very quickly. The second build, that's kind of, I've just realised now, that is probably a really good way to explain the difference between the two builds. One of them, you do the Ice Spear side of things with extreme prejudice. The other one is more of a set up the dominoes, then watch them fall kind of thing. A lot of preparation involved to make, a one-shot scenario occur. Suffice to say, we'll be doing an elimination on the second build, because it's a Dreadnought killing build. Anyway. So, a lot of what I'm going to say about Ice Spear is kind of going to be in the hypothetical of the version that I very briefly showed you, which is what I called the platonic version of Ice Spear, which is just, cold radiance, basically built pretty much exactly like this, but with cold radiance and probably charge up speed, and with a basic boiler ray wave cooker. And the reason why that is going to be the version I'm talking about is because that is the version that I love. I think Ice Spear is absolutely brilliant. I think it's such a good overclock. It's got drawbacks that I'm going to get into, and I'm not necessarily going to come to a damning conclusion. I'm probably still going to be quite positive about it, but there are things that I do kind of wish were different, that we'll get into anyway. That one with not an Ice Spear. Yeah, but also the heavy hitter EPC really helps with certain aspects of this. Also, this is a good thing to do. And that's why we love it. That spitball though, I think I'm just going to shoot this thing. Because heavy hitter EPC, especially with the fire, it's such a good feeling. Ooh, that was close. It's such a good feeling weapon. But yeah. I love Ice Spear. I think it's amazing. Like I said, there are drawbacks, but I think ultimately I'm still going to be quite positive about it. Because it's just so strong. It takes full advantage of the cryo cannon as it is, without making it weaker. It just adds this really awesome, other ability to it that I love. I know that's quite a simple statement on what I like about this overclock, but it kind of just boils down to the fact that it doesn't really change the cryo cannon at all. But it just adds this thing that takes such good advantage of how good the cryo cannon is by default. Which is why, by the way, I kind of think what I would actually do is I would change things a little bit, because like I said, this thing uses up 50 ammo per shot, the Ice Spear itself. That's a lot. Now look, Snowball isn't amazing. I'll be the first to tell you that. But it only uses 25 ammo per shot. Now, I don't think Ice Spear needs to be brought down that low. But the truth is, with Ice Spear, you're freezing whatever you shoot with it, no matter what. The only exception is actually Goo Bombers. Apart from that, you're freezing whatever you're shooting with it. It maximizes the damage, and it, in the same vein, it guarantees the kill, or at least gets you much closer to guaranteeing the kill. So, given that you're going to be freezing anyway, you use up more than 50 ammo per Ice Spear shot anyway, because you're going to use a bit of ammo to freeze the enemy. Which is why I would much rather it cost like a little bit less. I'm thinking like 35 maybe. And then just put like a pretty hefty damage nerf on the Cryo Cannon, like the Cryo Cannon itself. And that's a cheeky suggestion, by the way, because the point is the Cryo Cannon doesn't need direct damage here at all. Obviously, actually getting rid of direct damage would actually probably make Fragile quite a bit worse, but if you just basically tank the Cryo Cannon's direct damage from itself, not from Ice Spear, I think that would be a wonderful way to balance making Ice Spear like a lot cheaper. Because it does kind of mean that Ice Spear has more work to do in the long run. But yeah, it's not. And I should also. What's probably a more important thing to say about this is the fact that I don't think Ice Spear needs to get stronger. I just do notice that oh, what the fuck? Oh, that fucking sucks. Oh fuck, I can handle this. Okay, that wasn't great. Yeah, a group of Trijaws like that is kind of the last thing that we want to fight with this. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, Goo Bombers, there you go. Don't need to freeze them. Just shoot them with an Ice Spear. Obviously, that is not the easiest thing in the world to do. That requires some level of precision, but it's better than trying to freeze it, because by the time you've frozen it without cold radiance, you've probably killed it already with direct damage, which means you've probably used hundreds of ammo. Ripper time. Guards are great because they're so easy to finish off with the EPC. Like, honestly, hilariously easy, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really think that Ice Spear is as strong as it needs to be. In fact, the thing is, it is so strong that I do kind of acknowledge that that ammo amount that it uses is kind of its penalty, in a way. Obviously, it's technically not a penalty, it's just how much ammo Ice Spear uses when you use it. You know, it's a new mechanic. It is literally not a penalty, it's just how the new mechanic that Ice Spear adds to the weapon works. That's all it is. But it is a lot of ammo to use in one go. And it's pretty rewarding. I think when it comes to Praetorians and Wardens and Goo Bombers, sort of these kind of things, it's great. It's a little bit more difficult to use against things like Detonators and Oppressors because of their freeze window being shorter. Oppressors, it's really hard. You can Ice Spear Oppressors, and it does one-shot them, but it is hard to do. It's really hard to do. And I don't think it necessarily should be easier. I think having that be a hard skill to learn is fine. Which is why I think Ice Spear is somewhat underappreciated. When I finally get around to doing that, the final tier list, right? It's going straight in the A tier, I think. Well, actually, at least A tier is what I should say, like minimum. I think S would be unlikely, but it's definitely going in A tier. And I think with the Cryo Cannon, people just sort of gravitate towards a thing that helps me shoot longer and freeze better, tune cooler, and improve thermal efficiency. And I get that. And also Crystal Nucleation now as well, it's also great. But the truth is, Ice Spear and Ice Storm are really good overclocks. Which is weird to say for Ice Storm. There was a time, a long time ago, where I would have laughed at that idea. Sorry. Tea's gone cold. I didn't realise I hadn't drunk it for that long. There was a time when I would have like basically laughed at the idea of saying that Ice Storm is good, because it used to be bad. But it's not anymore. Ice Storm's really good, and Ice Spear has kind of always been good, to be honest. And this is me acknowledging that in the form of a video. Although, this is the thing about Cold Radiance. Not having Cold Radiance, you lose so much convenience about what the Cryo Cannon brings. Like just, you know, deleting every swarmer around you with ease. The fact that you lose that entirely is it's pretty punishing, to be honest. Anyway, let's try the suppressor. Let's try it. I'm not super confident. I fucked it up. That's bad. You kind of need to really learn how to rely on the ice trail freezing the enemy at the exact right moment to like stop firing and start charging. You basically need to start charging before it actually freezes, which is difficult because the ice trail, without crystal nucleation, the ice trail does so little freezing that it's really hard to rely on it. But you can do it, and I hope I'll be able to just like show you that in this video. Hello. Sorry, my cat just walked in. Ooh. Is she? Oh, sorry. All right. She's fine. The only thing that I haven't really, I think, finalised my stance on with how you're meant to use Ice Spear against it is Wardens, because Wardens are very weak, but you can't like one-shot them without freezing them. But freezing them is also quite overkill. So I'm pretty sure that if you hit the weak point with the Ice Spear, it would kill the Warden, like pretty easily. But that's really not easy to do. Oh shit! Hold on. I needed to resupply before now, really, didn't I? Yeah, hitting a Warden's weak point at the best of times is difficult, but when it's moving, as they often are, oh, that's pointless. That's because the EPC can one-shot them by temp shocking anyway. Stupid Ripper. They really made the Ripper bad for like no reason. Like it was so, it's just begging to be good, and they just decided for it not to be. Where is it? Anyway, got another presser to try. Yes. Just attacking it blindly is not a good idea. It is shield. I do have shield disruption on after all. Okay, I think now's the time. There we go. I did it. See, I started charging right before the oppressor actually froze, and then the trail managed to freeze it in the last like second. Yeah, that's how you do it. There you go. See, this is more than just a showcase. It's a tutorial as well. Right, I need one more quark. I imagine there's probably one down here. And yes, I am going to do that core stone for sure. Okay, there we go. Alright. What is that? Jade boots. Well, we don't use jade boots in these videos. Oh, hold on, there's a quark here. Wait, no, this is the 9th for quark. I haven't actually brought it over yet. And Bosco's getting the 10th. Yeah, the EPC is actually really bad against guards when they're they're guarding. It doesn't really go through that in any way. If you can hit them in the face, it can like free shot them, which is pretty nice, but that's the face. Can't always hit the face. I felt pretty good. Alright, Callstone time. I mean, I think there is another offshoot to this. I reckon there's a chance there's like a machine event somewhere or something. I think we'll just do the Callstone and then get out of it. The thing is, the Callstone isn't going to benefit. We're not going to get that much out of Ice Spear specifically for this, which is why I want to try and use Ice Spear as our damage source for the Callstone itself. Typically, I would use Satchels. And it's even better here because I'm pretty sure I have the highest damage satchels, which I'm pretty sure one-shot phases of the Callstone. But basically, I'd rather, in this case, I'm going to actually use those for combat reasons, and I'm going to just try and basically get all of our Callstone damage from Ice Spear. The thing is, though, it's a little bit backhanded because I'm pretty sure I did this before, and Ice Spear didn't really do that much damage to the Callstone for some reason. But we'll still do it. Remember, this does like reduce our sort of like, basically it delays when we can start freezing things again, which I will need to do. I can't really not freeze these guys. Oh, that's not good. Not that I can't do something about that. I can easily hit that thing from here. Right, there we go. But it is kind of difficult to see these things as like row core enemies. A game that I don't know. I don't think it's going to be out by the time this video's out, but we might know whether it's going to be out soon. I'd hope. I'm going to create a bit of a death trap for myself here. What I just did there is not smart. It's always when you're trying to, you're doing something specifically to make sure you stay alive. That's when they get you. Alright, we need to leave now. I've been here 15 minutes. That's not actually that crazy for a longer point extraction, but it's still been here for too long.
Retrieving the core stone for further examination. Minehead launched. Escape pod will arrive when Minehead has been secured. Hang in there.
Maybe I should try ice spearing one of these things. Oh my god, it one-shot it! I don't think I even hit the weak point. Whoa. Okay. That's useful to know. Aha! The Warden. Right, I'm going to try and hit it outright. Okay. Grunt got in the way. Yeah, see, that was like even that thing was like almost at half health, and that was basically a direct hit. Not a weak point hit. That's a direct hit, and it didn't kill it. And it already lost like quite a bit of its health. So yeah, Wardens, you got to hit that weak point, or got to freeze them first. And I guess freezing would probably be better because the chance of you missing are higher. Yeah, the chance of missing exists, where the chance of you missing it while frozen is 0%. Well, obviously something could get in the way, but the fact is, you could miss if it's not frozen. You're probably not going to miss if it isn't. If it is frozen, say. Right, no, that's not gonna work.
Explosives fire. Ammo taken. Arrived, waiting for takeoff. Drop pod departing in T-minus 3 minutes. Bloody disgusting stuff this is. I'm doing my part.
Fuck. Oh, fuck this. Look at them go. Oh, hi. Well, there you go. That's Ice Spear being used aggressively. Use this on anything that isn't a salvage operation. Or escort duty. Well, actually, you know what? Escort duty is probably not actually that bad. The thing is, I always find it weird. You shouldn't really apply the exact same principles to escort duty and salvage op, because they're very defense oriented, but you have a lot more freedom of movement in escort duty when you think about it. Obviously you need to be near Doretta to be able to repair her, right? Yeah. But the fact is, in salvage op, you have to stay in this zone or you'll lose. You can still get away from Doretta if you need to. Obviously they're still pretty similar. Also, the assignment giving me an elimination is pretty ridiculously good. It does have volatile guts on it, which I'm thinking about. I think I might, because obviously this can be a very dreadnought focused. Yeah, it's gonna be a very dreadnought focused mission, the next one. So maybe, you know what? Let's just have some fun. Let's go for the volatile guts. Fuck it. I mean, the thing is, if you freeze an enemy and kill them, they won't explode anyway with volatile guts. So we do have that as well to keep in mind. But yeah, so here is the second one. This is the single target one. Obviously, I mentioned Blistering and Necrosis earlier. You might have realised what's going on here. There's a reason why I'm dedicating this build to elimination. Because, yeah, what we're doing is creating blisters and trying to hit those blisters with Ice Spear. And yes, that does do damage. It does a lot of damage. My god, is it hard to pull off. And where it isn't hard to pull off, it's complete overkill. Which is like Praetorians and Wardens, things like that. Things that Ice Spear already one-shots. Even Oppressors. So the only things where this really matters are things that have enough health and can be blistered and frozen. So it's bulk detonators and dreadnoughts. And that's it. I think BAACB as well. I think you could do BAACB as well. Yeah, I think so. That's it though. That's it. So that's why we're doing elimination. But either way, so this is more of an ideal way of building Ice Spear though. So you take the ammo, but you take cold radiance and charge speed, so you instantly start freezing stuff around you. That is the best way to freeze enemies, even for Ice Spear. And just, you know, the other option, it's not fire rate, basically. This is how you really should be using Ice Spear. And yeah, we have, you know, the essential essence of what I would normally use anyway, which is a wave cooker with boiler ray. But we've got Blistering and Necrosis here, so we take basic stuff. Ammo is more valuable here. I would actually normally take damage. Blistering and Necrosis kind of demands that we have more ammo, though, to work with. You might be thinking, why not exothermic reactor? Well, shut the fuck up, that's why. Fuck you. And fuck exothermic reactor. Densification ray, though, is more ambiguous. I would say you could go either way. The reason why I'm going with it, though, is because this works well enough where you don't have to rely on freezing. And that's why this actually, I think, is generally better for elimination than other ways of using Ice Spear. Because you can freeze dreadnoughts, but hitting them with the Ice Spear as well, I'm pretty sure you can only do that on the twins, because I think their window is slightly longer. Either way, it's so difficult to hit them with Ice Spear while they're frozen. They stay frozen for such a short amount of time. Blisters, though, they don't go anywhere. They just stay there. And that's what's so beautiful about it. So maybe that alone makes you sort of understand where this comes from. We can just sort of start these dreadnought fights by just putting blisters on the dreadnought and then just approaching it however we want. That approach could include freezing it, or just going straight for the blisters. I should probably check the starting room more thoroughly than that. But there is a... What the fuck is this? Oh. Oh. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong. Fuck. Molly. Hey, there's our nitro. I'm still on the ignoring secondary objectives mindset at the moment, and I think it is doing me a lot of good. I think it's sort of tightening up the time I spend with the game. I think at the moment is not a bad thing. Anyway, it's also suffice to say, or it's also appropriate to say, Blistering Necrosis is a great overclock by itself, much like Heavy Hitter. It does allow I think it generally gets more value out of its utility purposes, but it still can help the wave cooker itself deal with like a really good amount of damage. Like, it is nothing to scoff at. I would say once you sort of step into like the area of Praetorians, and certainly things that are stronger than Praetorians, you start to lose some momentum there, because they're tough enough where they're just not the kind of thing you should use a wave cooker against, unless it's in a supportive role. But sort of below that, and especially things like Mac Terrors, which are weak to both of the damage types that that the wave cooker deals, which is radiation and fire, it's fair game, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway. Okay, so a breeder. It's the exact kind of thing that we want to be using blisters and Ice Spear against. Watch this. Oh, I didn't know it was going to be that good. Now, okay, so my understanding of Blistering Necrosis is not that strong. It's probably better than the average person, but I can't explain it scientifically. But if I'm not mistaken, it inherits both its own like weak point multiplier value, which is like always double, I think, as well as the weak point multiplier of the creature itself, which I think in the case of the breeder might be 3 times. Either way, it's a double weak point on top of a double weak point, and I think that basically creates the damage nonsense that you get out of it sometimes. And I think that's why that one-shot it. In fact, we might have actually hit multiple blisters at the same time as well, maybe, and that would definitely help. Oh, I got double satchels here as well. Actually, is that right? Mega, yeah, it is. So be careful, because I actually had one of these blow up in my face the other day. Anyway, so Hive Guard fight. There's a slightly different approach to every fight in this kind of thing. In this one, it is freeze sentinels first, and then wave clicker them. And then we use our HEs, and then later on we'll also use satchels for this part of it. And then we find a foothold, which is going to be a blister. There it is. Not going to be the easiest thing to hit. It popped itself, so fuck it. Just go from behind. Just shoot it. Let's just go from... We don't need blisters. Oh yeah, I've got to be careful though, because Ice Spear does do a lot. I mentioned it earlier. It actually does quite a lot of area damage, so I almost killed myself with it there. But yeah, so that wasn't particularly strong. Which is why I should sort of maybe be a bit more elaborate on how I really feel about this build. You don't have to be doing it in the exact right way all the time. Blistering, Necrosis and Ice Spear remain strong overclock separately. It's just that on occasion, if you can get the two to line up, you can get something pretty fantastic out of it. Yeah. Like that. Anyway, I've got to go find some red trigger now, because this is getting ridiculous. My health situation is not good. Okay. I knew it was going to happen. I don't know how, but I knew that it was going to somehow land there. This is supposedly the better of the two builds, by the way. According to who, you ask? According to me. But yeah, so it gets to a point, and if you have the right kit, the last segment of the Hive Guard is like just completely trivial. Like that amount of health, the satchel might do it by itself, to be honest. In fact, I think I might know how to make that happen. Maybe. Anyway, so I've got to deal with these guys first. Hello? If I use a HE first to soften them up... Oh, okay, whatever. Oh! Didn't need it. It just did it anyway. The rocks. Don't approach the floating rocks. Anyway.
Getting closer to our quota.
But that was Ice Spear against a Dreadnought. I mean, I had a little bit of slip up, but you know, it's Ice Spear versus a Dreadnought. The Blistering Necrosis side of things is really just you could call it an experiment. You don't need it. You don't need it for Ice Spear to be good against Dreadnoughts, but it is fun to just take things that like extra step. Like it's excessive, but it is like it's very satisfying, I find. Shellbacks, not the easiest thing to hit with Ice Spear.
I put some shells in the shell back. Players, not ready yet.
Okay, we're going to take a bit of a measured approach to this room because we've got Ultimate Terror and a breeder.
Relax. I took out the
I don't know exactly how I'm going to handle this safely. Well, it's not going to be safe because that thing might kill me. Yeah, okay. This is what I get for Cambridge Cluster. And for thinking that Volatile Guts would trivialize things. Because I did think it would. Well, oh, there's no way this could be like hard at all. There's no way this could be hard at all because Volatile Guts is so overpowered. Speaking of which, I'm not doing that fucking core stone. Fuck you. Right, what am I doing? I need to resupply. I brought one in, called one in for a reason. I think this is probably it.
more ammo. Red sugar. Damn those ceiling bugs.
Yeah, that tells me that the weak points do like compound with each other.
Leech now.
That didn't do as much damage as the last one did.
Where is that damn view? Really gotta wait for the rain shot now.
There you are. Hi. Fucking hell. Fuck this. It's not how I wanted to do that, but I was getting a little bit annoyed with that thing. Menaces I find a little bit ambiguous because only because it's hard to hit their weak point do I think it's generally a better idea to freeze them first than not. It's definitely a lot of overkill with how much damage you do to them when they're frozen, but it's kind of the same as the Warden. It's better than missing. Which is why, by the way, it wouldn't be like insane to like make Ice Spear weaker and reduce like itself and that way reduce the ammo cost as well, because you'd still be able to hit certain really valuable breakpoints by freezing enemies. It wouldn't change that much. Anyway, so I remember noticing that you do not do much damage to the Dreadnought in this phase. But even if you hit like a blistered Ice Spear, like a blister with Ice Spear, even that wasn't that impressive, was it really? Let's try and do it now. There's a blister on the weak point. Perfect. Okay, but it's not bad. It's not bad. And obviously, what the base Dreadnought does is give us a lot of really good windows to do this kind of thing. I'm actually going to start trying to form a blister now. Let's use that. Okay, that was a bit weird. That was also a bit weird. Okay. Alright, the next one we're just going to use pure Ice Spear on. This is getting a bit weird. There we go. Sometimes you just got to keep it simple. Like I said, blisters are a bit of an experiment. They are a fun experiment. They're an experiment I would recommend experimenting with yourself because it's so much fun. But it's an experiment nonetheless. Although I'm going to have to cross a bit of distance to get to the next dreadnought. I'll see you there. I've been hit with a rather large horde and I'm going to put it on camera in case I die during it. This is where Volatile Guts is actually kind of coming clutch. No idea when I'm going to fight the Dreadnought. I guess it's going to have to be in this area. It's really horribly tight tunnel, but it's still the best place, I think. I've got it again. Okay, whatever, fine. I'm trying to think how I could do it differently though. Maybe we do pure Ice Spear to keep things a bit more pure, or try and freeze it in Ice Spear as well. So just a bit more cryo than blisters in this one. You kind of need the Sentinels to come up like sharp though. That all nitro. It's actually a lot of nitro that I've been ignoring. Very nice. Very nice. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think their freeze window is slightly longer than Oppressor's. I think Oppressor's might have the shortest, actually. But the pastel. Satchel does so much damage. Okay, that would probably kill me immediately. Honestly, I almost thought that might just kill it immediately. There we go. Killed with direct cryo cannon damage. Alright, let's go. Let's leave. No more funny business.
Sending in the drop pod, starting the counter. This is it, team. Do us proud.
Pardon me. My apologies.
Drop pod has arrived. The mule has been called back. Drop pod departing in T-minus 5 minutes.
I think it's probably tempting for people to want to use Ice Spear against things like Stingtails, but you don't want to. You can spare that ammo. Your secondary should be built to kill a frozen Stingtail fairly quickly. I suppose that probably would have been a good opportunity to show you what it's like trying to do something like killing a Praetorian Vice Spear without freezing it, because it's not good. Even with hitting the weak point, it's like, oh, this isn't that great, is it? Oh my god, look, that weird visual effect is still there. Isn't that amazing? Isn't
Pod departing in T-minus 4 minutes.
right, this one I'm going to try and do a blister move against, which is a bad idea. First of all, because it's not actually that good, and it also does like make you vulnerable to the Praetorian. That's it. That's Ice Spear. It's a great overclock. Obviously, I was kind of like a little bit muddled in this mission, but that is because this was an experiment. For me, the truly perfect Ice Spear build lies somewhere between these two. But as always, I encourage experimentation. I just think these are two interesting jumping off points for how you might use this overclock. It's great. There are things that I might change about it, but at the same time, it would be very low down on the list of priorities at the same time. It is a balanced overclock, for sure. I think there might be ways that I would change it despite that. You know what I mean? Like tweaks rather than an outright buff. It's great. Love it. Big recommendation. And that means it's, well, that means first of all, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more stuff like it, please make sure to, if you want to see more stuff like this and you want to stay on top of everything through Deep Rock and Road Core, then also make sure to click the bell. And as always, thank you to our wonderful, one and only member, Box Fox Scoot. And now, time to find out what next week's overclock is going to be. It's for the L1000. So basically, if you haven't seen this part of the video before, how I do this is I number the overclocks in the weapon, left to right, top to bottom. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've already done 1, 2, and 5. So they are missing from the wonderful Wheel of Fortune that we use to find out the number for our next overclock. Not a strong preference here, although electrocuting focus shots would not be a unwelcome selection by fate, and it is going to be electrocuting focus shots. Lucky me, I've been kind of wanting to use this weapon or this overclock, so that's simple. There it is. That's one build for it already, and I'll see you then. But now it is time to have our Ice Spear themed beverage. I really don't know what that would be though, because I feel like obviously, you know, it could be Arkan Stout, but I actually don't think that's appropriate for Ice Spear specifically. So what should it be? I mean, the thing about Skull Crusher is actually it's kind of like not that inappropriate. Maybe we have Skull Crusher.
Skull crushers for everyone.
Not that I even need it, but you know, it's just nice. Why not? Let's have a daily special instead. It's gonna have no interesting effects, but the Daft Punk themed song. Someone might be watching Tron Legacy tonight. See ya.